In a small village, a poor shoemaker sat in his humble workshop, gazing at his last piece of leather. His wife stood beside him, her face filled with concern as they realized this was all they had left. With trembling hands, the shoemaker carefully cut the leather into the shape of one final pair of shoes. He laid the cut pieces neatly on his workbench, his movements slow and weary from years of hard work. The wife gently placed her hand on his shoulder, offering silent comfort as the candle flickered nearby. Night had fallen, and the tired couple prepared to leave the workshop, their hearts heavy with worry. The shoemaker took one last look at the leather pieces before blowing out the candle on his workbench. Together they walked toward their bedroom, hoping tomorrow would somehow bring a solution to their troubles. Morning sunlight streamed through the workshop window as the shoemaker slowly opened the door to begin work. He froze in amazement, his eyes widening at the sight of something unexpected sitting on his workbench. There on the table sat a pair of perfectly finished shoes with exquisite stitching and flawless craftsmanship. The shoemaker picked up the shoes with trembling hands, examining every detail in complete disbelief and wonder. His wife rushed in, hearing his gasp of surprise, and stared at the beautiful shoes with her mouth open wide. They looked at each other in confusion and amazement, unable to understand how this miracle had happened. The shoemaker turned the shoes over and over, marveling at the perfect work that surpassed his own skills. Together they stood in silent wonder, holding the magical shoes as morning light filled their humble workshop. Later that morning, a well-dressed gentleman entered the workshop, his eyes immediately drawn to the beautiful shoes. The customer picked up the shoes and examined them closely, his face lighting up with delight and admiration. He insisted on buying them immediately and paid a generous price, far more than the shoemaker had expected. The shoemaker and his wife watched in joy as the satisfied customer left, coins jingling in their hands. With the money, they hurried to the market, excited to purchase leather for not just one but two pairs. The wife carefully selected the finest leather pieces, while the shoemaker counted out the coins with a smile. They returned home carrying their new leather, their hearts lighter and filled with renewed hope for the future. That evening, the shoemaker laid out the leather for two pairs of shoes, wondering if magic would strike again. That night, the shoemaker carefully cut the leather into pieces for two pairs of shoes on his workbench. He arranged the cut pieces neatly, glancing at his wife with a hopeful expression before leaving the workshop. The couple blew out the candle and closed the door, secretly hoping the miracle would happen once more tonight. As dawn broke, the shoemaker rushed eagerly to the workshop, his wife following close behind with anticipation. They gasped together as they saw not one but two pairs of perfectly crafted shoes waiting on the workbench. The shoemaker lifted each pair, examining the flawless stitching with even greater amazement than before yesterday. His wife clasped her hands together in wonder, tears of joy forming in her eyes at this repeated blessing. They embraced each other tightly, both realizing that some mysterious helper was watching over them each night. Days passed, and the miracle continued, with more beautiful shoes appearing each morning on the workbench, perfectly made. Customers came from near and far, eager to buy the extraordinary shoes known throughout the village for quality. The workshop grew busier and more prosperous, with shelves now filled with leather and coins filling their purse. The shoemaker and his wife no longer worried about money, their faces glowing with happiness and gratitude daily. Each evening, the shoemaker cut more leather pieces, trusting the mysterious magic would transform them by morning. He laid out leather for 4 pairs of shoes now, amazed at how their fortune had completely changed forever. The wife smiled warmly as she tidied the prosperous workshop, grateful for the invisible helpers who blessed them. Yet despite their newfound wealth, both wondered deeply about who their mysterious benefactors could possibly be at night. One evening, the wife spoke quietly to her husband, suggesting they discover who their mysterious helper truly was. The shoemaker nodded thoughtfully, agreeing it was time to learn the identity of their generous secret benefactor. They decided to hide in the workshop that very night, staying awake to witness the magic with their eyes. As usual, the shoemaker cut the leather and laid it carefully on the workbench for the mysterious workers. Instead of leaving, the couple concealed themselves behind a large cupboard in the corner, hearts beating fast. They extinguished the candle but left moonlight streaming through the window to illuminate the workshop floor below. Sitting in darkness and silence, they waited patiently as the hours slowly passed toward the midnight hour ahead. The workshop grew still and quiet, with only the sound of their breathing and the ticking clock breaking silence. Intrigued by Conrad's report, the old king decided to secretly follow the goose girl himself the very next morning early. He hid near the city gateway at dawn and watched as the princess stopped beneath the mounted Falada head. The old king was amazed when he heard the princess greet Falada, and the horsehead spoke back with words. He followed them quietly to the goose meadow and concealed himself behind bushes to observe without being seen there. The old king watched as the princess let down her beautiful golden hair that shimmered like pure sunlight itself brightly. When Conrad reached to touch her hair, she sang softly, and the wind suddenly came to blow his hat away. The old king witnessed Conrad chasing his hat while the princess quickly braided and hid her hair under her cap. Now, certain something extraordinary was happening, the old king returned to his castle, determined to learn the complete truth soon. The next morning, the shoemaker and his wife discussed how they could repay the kind elves for everything done. The wife had a wonderful idea, suggesting they make tiny clothes and shoes for the poor, naked little helpers. The shoemaker smiled warmly and agreed, touched by his wife's compassionate heart and thoughtful, generous spirit always shown. Throughout the day, the wife worked diligently, sewing tiny shirts, pants, and coats from the finest, colorful fabric. Meanwhile, the shoemaker carefully crafted 2 pairs of miniature shoes, perfect for the elves' tiny, delicate feet, exactly. They worked with love and gratitude, pouring their hearts into every stitch and every detail of the gifts. By evening, the outfit was complete, with bright jackets, cozy trousers, and perfectly fitted little shoes all ready. The couple admired their handiwork with pride and satisfaction, eager to see the elves' reactions to their surprise gifts. That night, instead of leaving leather pieces, the couple placed the tiny clothes and shoes on the workbench lovingly. They hid once more in their corner spot, hearts pounding with excitement to witness the elves' joyful reaction. When midnight struck, the 2 elves appeared as usual, but stopped abruptly when they saw the colorful gifts waiting. Their tiny eyes grew wide with wonder and delight as they picked up the little clothes, examining them carefully. The elves squealed with pure joy, immediately putting on the jackets, trousers, and shoes with excited, hurried movements quickly. They admired themselves, spinning around and touching their new outfits with expressions of absolute happiness and grateful pride. Then the elves began dancing wildly around the workshop, leaping and twirling with unbridled joy and pure celebration energy. The shoemaker and his wife watched with tears of happiness, seeing the elves so delighted with their heartfelt gifts. The elves danced with joy throughout the workshop, their laughter filling the night air with magical happiness and celebration. They sang a cheerful song while spinning and leaping, expressing their gratitude for the wonderful gifts they received tonight. After their joyful celebration, the elves held hands and bowed deeply toward the hidden couple with grateful, knowing smiles. Then, in a sparkle of magical light, the 2 little elves disappeared into the night sky, never to return again. The shoemaker and his wife emerged from hiding, smiling through tears, understanding the elves had moved on contentedly now. Though the magic had ended, they felt blessed and grateful, knowing they had learned the true value of kindness. The following morning brought bright sunshine to the workshop, where the couple continued their shoemaking with skilled, capable hands. They prospered through their own hard work, forever cherishing the memory of the generous elves who had saved them.